Hey everyone, this is the first video covering my winter season going into 2018. Here in Phoenix, Zone 9, we can grow all winter long and not have to worry depending on the variety. So one of the things that I'm doing this year that I've done was I started my seeds indoors mid-September for the winter season. A lot of other states, you can plant stuff outside in mid-September and be fine, but here, if you plant something outside mid-September, it's going to automatically die the first day. Literally, you can water it 10 times and it'll still die. So I started everything indoors mid-September, which I'll show you in one of the beds that last year I put the Sing Farms compost in and nothing would grow. But that compost has been on the ground for quite some time now. It's been breaking down the whole time, and things are growing fine, which I'll show you. These trays here are root trainer trays that allow the roots to try to expose themselves out of the bottoms of the openings, and then once there, they are exposed to air coming out of those holes. So they're forced down to the holes, they're exposed to air, and then they die off. And then back, half an inch or so, or even more. I can't remember if it's just 4 inches back. I believe it's 4 inches, up to 4 inches back, but I think it's going to be different with brassica than it would be with a tree, with like a kale or broccoli or spinach or whatever. So let's just say an inch back. It'll branch out, and instead of having one root, you'll have 3 or 4 root tips, then growing and then being forced to the holes, dying off, and then they branch out, and then the others branch, and then when you plant this out, 2 months later or a month and a half later, the roots are pretty extensive, and they just go crazy when they hit your soil. So mid-September I started these, not these, but ones like this, and now it's November, almost mid-November, and I have some pretty nice sized plants so far, so I'll show you those. But what I'm growing here before that is this row here is collard. This row here is dinosaur kale. These didn't germinate. These were celery. These are all bok choy. These are all one thing. It's all purple kale there. So not all of the seeds germinated, as you can see. I did water them once a day indoors, and outdoors now twice a day. In the daytime, it's in the maybe 82, 85 degree range, and then at night here it's 58 to 60 degrees right now on November 11th. So pretty good weather for growing anything outside. This is all going to be my summer stuff. I'll put this at the end of the video for you if you guys like peppers, ground cherries, which aren't sprouted yet, but if you like them, I'll cover that at the end of this video. So those are all the peppers. So let me go show you the first bed, which I started mid-September and planted out mid-October. Okay, this is the first bed. I was trying to start more of a square foot gardening technique, and I still have a lot of transplants that fill in a lot of these gaps. Once I figure out which of these plants are going to be smaller versus which ones are going to be larger and spread out more, and then I'll plant accordingly, because I got tons and tons of other stuff that I can use to fill in these gaps. Here is some of the earlier cabbage that I planted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are closer to the native soil border, so they aren't doing very well. That broccoli there, I planted a little bit closer in to the composted area, so it's doing a lot better. This one, which is a collard, is a little bit further back towards the native soil border, and it's also not doing that good. It's doing fine, but not great. These are all broccoli here, and all the bigger ones here are all collards. What we have here is a bunch of spinach. Here is a bunch of onion. Red Creole onion, which is a short day onion. So if you are growing south of northern Arizona, get short day onions, because if you get a long day onion, they're probably not going to bulb. Last year I tried long day onions and they didn't bulb. So if you buy onions, or the onion sets, the little bulbs that you get from the store, from your garden center. Make sure they're long day. If they're from the garden center, they probably should be long day, but just make sure. Radish all on the front. My wife loves it, so I got a specific variety, and I have one on order that's going to be coming in. It's like a yellow variety. So instead of it being red, it's yellow. So these are like an elongated radish, so they're like, like this long at maturity. I believe it's English breakfast is the name of the radish. Three types of lettuce intermixed in here that I'll take some out, make room for other lettuce, because these lettuce aren't close to maturity in size yet, but the lettuce I grew from seed here, and then everything else I planted in ground around the same time, so you can see the difference. These are by nature very, very fast growers, so they're almost getting up to the collards, but the collards I planted way earlier. I do get a lot of damage from caterpillars. I don't see any under the leaves. I did also foliar feed most of the larger leaf vegetables last night. So I foliar fed them with some liquid kelp and then chelated iron and zinc. That's what I use for the foliar. I put a little bit of Epsom salt in that as well for magnesium sulfate, and foliar fed everything last night. So that's what the stains on the leaves are. So this is my bed. I did, again, 2 inches of my own compost before I planted this out. I tilled it down about 3.5 inches. Tilled it down to make it loosen up the top part of the soil to allow these newly transplanted seedlings. Their roots are weaker, so just give them a little bit of help extending the roots out. So I tilled down about 3.5 inches deep. This is November 11th, and these are the size of the broccoli that I have now compared to what you would right now be getting from your garden centers. And I got it at a fraction of the cost. Let me show you what vegetables I did start from seed after I did the ones that I just showed you in the pots. I'm sorry, before the ones I showed you in the pots. Give me a sec. All right, so the ones I showed you in the pots were about thumb high, so about the same height as this. They're about the same size, at least my kale. The other, the bok choy and the collards and all that, I did plant maybe a week after the kale, because I was waiting for it to come in from rareseed.com. So this stuff here is about the same size, but these were planted about 2 weeks earlier. Again, 2 inches of compost, tilled down about 3.5 inches deep, all the way across. Those are cabbage. These are Swiss chard, 9 Swiss chard. I have a few onions intermixed. These onions go back 2 rows, and then a few onions intermixed there. This is all broccoli. This one here, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna leave it for now. See if it's something promising. I don't know what it is. It's growing too slow to be a weed, getting water twice a day and full. And I'd say at the top layer here is 80% compost, probably more than that, 90% pure compost. So onions and carrot bed. My onions are red Creole, and then my carrots, which are purple, cosmic purple, I believe, all grown from seed. So where there was less carrots, I planted more onions. I just rooted them up from the other bed that you just saw, the first bed I showed you. I rooted them up and just planted them all last night. So hopefully they survive. It's going to be overcast today, so perfect timing. Couldn't get better than this. Overcast today and tomorrow. Yeah, so perfect timing. But these are going to be successfully harvested after that first bed I showed you with the bed consisting of collards, kale, and broccoli and cabbage. I'll harvest that first bed first, and then when the side shoots of that first bed are starting to develop, these will start coming to harvest age. And then I'll harvest these, and then I'll go back to the other bed, get those side shoots, and I'll come back here, get these side shoots, and back and forth and back and forth. That's successive planting to where you always have something ripe. You don't just plant. For my size family of 8, plant 30 heads of broccoli all at once and have all the 30 main heads come out all at the same time, end up giving half of it away so it doesn't go bad, and then we harvest the side shoots. This way, you know, we don't really waste as much, and we still use it all. So let me show you the last bed. Okay, this is the last bed I'm preparing. I have a little bit more compost left over. I might use, I might not, I don't know. I did put another layer of this railroad tie that we had laying around. It's been sitting here for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. So if the metals or the copper that was used to make it, it's going to leach. Most of it probably leached out. I'm not too worried about it. I mean, this is really old stuff, so. And it's free. You know, you can't beat free, especially when you have a large family. So that's what I'm using. What's left over in this bed is just going to be some, there's bees hovering around the flowers. It's my grocery store sweet basil that I got for $2. I used it and then I just kept planted it. This is lemon basil. Bees love this stuff too. This stuff smells really, really good, by the way. I highly suggest lemon basil if you guys like basil. And my pepper plants. So I'm going to use this bed. Some of those seedlings, the leftover ones, I'm going to use and propagate all this out. I'm going to chop that tomato down. I'm going to get all these peppers out. I'm going to clone whatever I need to clone. Just putting them in water, taking the leaves off, putting the stems in water, and going from there. So that's basically the end of this video. Start your stuff early indoors. Get it out, as early as you can. Whether sun heat permitting, get an early start on your harvest. Successive planting. Don't plant everything of every variety all at once. Plant it in stages of 2 to 3 week increments, 4 week increments. That way you always have vegetables coming, especially like with cabbage. That way you always have vegetables coming all the way through April. Root trainer pots do very well at forcing your roots to not just wind around in the bottom of a cup and just get bound up together and tangled up, and then it's stunted for growth when you plant it out. And this way it branches out and branches and branches instead of winding. So root trainer pots, air pruning is what the technique is called. And don't use Sing Farms compost. I'm sorry, unless they improved. I mean, I tried it. It was horrible, and it was from 2 different visits to them too. So it was from 2 different visits, spread out from I'd say probably about a month apart. 2 different visits, and it's horrible compost. Don't suggest using them at all. I went over to another grower that does a lot of tropical trees here in Phoenix area, and I mentioned Sing Farms, and they were like, "I'm glad you said it." In other words, I would say it, but I wouldn't say it to a customer. Their compost sucks. Don't use Sing Farms compost. It's horrible. And use your own compost, especially if you have neighbors that have the green buckets and they throw the green barrels, they throw all their stuff away, give it to the city, which compost it for them at a price. Have them, or go get their barrels and dump it in your yard in the corner somewhere. You can get the 4-foot tall chicken wire and make a big round circle out of it and use zip ties or something to lock it. There's videos on YouTube on that too. Make sure it's 4 feet across, 5 feet tall. Get all your neighbors' barrels, wheel them to your house. They're already on wheels, makes it easy. Dump it all in there, make your own compost. You'll make bags and bags of $10 compost for free using that technique. The rest of this video is going to be on my summer season that I'm preparing for as well, primarily peppers. So if you're not into peppers, you can stop the video now. If you're into peppers, keep watching and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, so this is my BTR Reaper Scorpion pepper here. This is a big one. Not getting red yet, but it's getting real bumpy. I got several smaller ones all over the place on this pepper plant or tree. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's pretty big. I tried air layering this, but none of the roots are forming in these air layers, so I might cut them off. I propagated a branch that I cut into 2 branches. So what I tried to do is find a branch that didn't have a lot of fruit on it, that had nodes that were real close together. So like on this one, these nodes are far apart. So there's one node there, and then one node here where my thumb is. It's pretty far apart. I might pick a better one, like this one in the back. Here, see how close those nodes are? But that's supporting a ton up top, so that might be the last one I cut off. Like after I'm gonna kill everything off, or maybe this one here. The nodes look nice, so what I'll do is I'll just get it, cut it off at a 45-degree angle, put it in tap water, leave it in tap water for 2 to 3 weeks. If you see roots or if you don't see roots, doesn't matter. Then you'll switch from straight tap water to hydroponic nutrients. And then when roots do form, if it's a good cutting, if roots do form, you let it root a little bit, and then you put it in soil. One thing I like to do is make sure that there's like 3 to 4 nodes on top of the soil line that I'm envisioning before I cut anything. That way I'm not cutting it and then there'll just be 1 node on top of the soil, which will still be good, but it'd be better if you have 3 or 4 nodes on top of the soil that can grow branches from. So that's my BTR scorpion. I did clone it. I actually also cross-pollinated right here with Scotch bonnet, and that's the true BTR shape. So this was a really cool one to cross. It's like I got really lucky. I got lucky with both my crosses. This is another cross here. I left the plastic on, so I remember which one it was. But there's like a baby bird's eye chili plant. I'll show you around the back. I crossed it with that, so hopefully I'll have. This is the mother plant though, so I don't think it'll be the tree would be the structure of the baby bird's eye, but I'm hoping it will. You can just see there's peppers all over that are starting to grow. That one has a really long tail. What I did was I came here a couple weeks back and just went to all the flowers and just did what a bee would do and just went like this and dangled it. And I did it to like 30 flowers on this BTR, so that's why there's a lot of smaller ones coming up now. So that was 2 weeks ago. This is what I believe is a Scotch bonnet. I don't remember what I planted here. I think it's a Scotch bonnet. It's in dire need of watering, so I'm going to water it today. This is what the fruit looks like. And this is what I crossed the BTR with, that one that you've seen down there on the bottom. This is a Chula Hacle Negro pepper. This one too. There are a good amount of peppers. I've been eating them. They're pretty hot too. Like, they'll burn your mouth with the heat. Like if you eat them straight. Like I ate half of. Like I got a big one. I'd say it was around that big, and cut it in half and ate half all at once. It was pretty. It's pretty hot. It was good though. So again, I'm gonna have some crosses of my own, BTR with a little baby bird's eye, and then BTR with what I believe is a Scotch bonnet. This one here is also fruiting too, and there's a fruit there. I think this is a Bohemian goat. I'm not sure, but you see the lobes. There's 4 lobes on that fruit. One that's in the trenches is this one. It's real scraggly looking pepper. I don't know what it is. It's in the back there. I think it might be like a sugar rush peach or like a ahi mango or something. I don't remember which variety it was. It was a while back. And a lot of these were the ones that were dying in that Sing Farms compost. This one, the reason it's so small is it was like literally dead. And I had to get it out of there. And so when I finally got this bed built, I moved it as fast as I could. This one, that one in the back, the BTR came here automatically. That's why this one is so big. This one also, I believe, came here automatically too. Not a transplant from the Sing stuff. That's a Sing transplant. This is a Sing transplant. These Chula Hacle Negro peppers, though, they get really, 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 really tall and easy. And I topped them too, like once or twice, and they still blow over like just so easily. They blow over. So if you do want to grow them, like a mole pepper. Very good, sweet pepper, really good flavor. Really good for drying. If you want to grow them, just know that you'll need to stake them unless you don't care about them blowing over. I just left them, and they're still fruiting. So let me show you all of my seedlings, the little babies. Give me a sec. All right, so we're back to that first set of pots. So these 8 are ground cherries all around here, also known as golden berries, which is a superfood that you can't really find fresh. They grow kind of like tomatillos in a little husk, and then they drop on the ground, and then you just pick them up from the ground, and then you give them like another week on your countertop or something. Or you can eat them right then and there, but you give them another week to ripen and sweeten a little bit more, and then you eat them. I'm going to make some awesome salsa, hopefully, with this stuff this year, so I'm really excited. Ground cherries. These are ones that sprouted yesterday. So, not sprouted yesterday, within the last 3 days, but when I got enough of each variety to put the time in to repot them, they'd be 3 days or less sprouted. So, Apocalypse Scorpion, Bootla BB Bubblegum Cross. So, Bootla BBG7 is what it's called. And then I got a Bootla BBG7 chocolate as a gift from Refining Fire Chilies. So, go on his site. Site's awesome. Jim Duffy at Refining Fire Chilies. Apocalypse Scorpion, Aleppo, Aleppo, Aleppo peppers. Look those up. Those are really sound really good. I've seen the reviews on them. Scotch bonnet cross brain 7-pot brain strain. I'm growing those. I got some other ones under the heat mat that haven't sprouted yet. And that's the chocolate. These I got gifted. I showed you in the beginning of the video. Pequin, I believe, chilies. So I don't really like the Pequin flavor, but I got them gifted, and I'm gonna keep them. I hear that they might survive winter too, so I might grow them as a tree somewhere with slight winter protection. So I have much larger seedlings indoors, which I'll show you under lights now. Give me a sec. All right, here's the peppers. This morning there was a horrible disaster of 1.5-year-old twins came in here, and somehow they make it up one set of stairs. They come in my room. They have another small set of stairs. This is a little side room, like a afterthought room the builder built. Come up the other set of stairs. They come in here, and then they came through the small little opening, and then they got to a bunch of stuff. It made a humongous, horrible mess. So if you have kids, make sure that you, set something up to where they can't get in. But these are my peppers. These are, the dates on these I put when I pot them. So they normally sprout maybe the day of or 2 or 3 days before at most. This is 1016. This is MA Vortex. Scotch Bonnet Freeport. Big Caramel Mama. Let's see here. Now this is a fish pepper. There's not a lot of white spotting. There's a little bit of white spotting on the leaves. This one here, I have to repot all these. This is way delayed. I just didn't do it yet, but this is a yellow reaper. I didn't get any other yellow reaper to grow. And then Detali, Florida pepper, Detali. Cabaca Roxa, Roxa, Roja. I don't know how you pronounce that. CGN 2500. I have probably about 3 Cabaca, 3 CGNs. Sugar Rush Peach. I got about 3 of those. MA Vortex again. I got about 6 of those. CGN. Kind of just let you know of all the types. Ahi Mango. Got 2 or 3 of those. Gave some of those away. More Freeport. These are my 2 BTR Reaper Scorpion that I grew from seed. More fish. Oh, I got a couple of Brazilian starfish peppers as well. That's one of them right there. I believe the other one is this one here. And this is a small little light under the hood I was telling you about. You see it kind of bends up in there. I think it only takes like 40 watts, but it's the equivalent of a 150 watt bulb. They're in the window, so they get maybe about 4 hours of direct sunlight a day from just the sun, and then this is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so 12 hours of this, and then, you know, the 4 hours of intense sun. They're a little tall, a little lengthy, but they seem to be doing fine. I do watch YouTube channel, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm sorry, Kangstar. He's in Texas, and he has a YouTube videos where I learned a lot of good techniques from him, from his channel. But he does a double cup method, and I only have single cups right now because I use all of what I would have used for the outside cups to pot more plants. So I got to go to the store and buy more pots. But it looks like without it being double cupped, the roots don't come out of the bottom. So what he does is the bottom cup takes the roots in from these holes in the inner cup. If you can see them, the holes in the inner cup at the bottom, the roots come out of that, and then they enter into the outer cup, and then they spiral around the bottom of the cup, and that's where he puts hydroponic nutrients, and they just drink it up, and he has to fill it every day or two, and they explode in growth like ridiculous. So I noticed that my roots weren't doing that. I'm thinking of just going to the bottom and pruning, just air pruning. So I'll just leave it at B, because what I've been doing was just applying the hydroponic nutrients on the top of the soil. And the leaves are doing really, 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 really well. Like some of the plants that I wasn't doing that with are real small and stunted. Like this one was real small. The leaves are turning purple. And that's what I experienced with my peppers the first season before they all died. All of them. So I started hitting it with hydroponic nutrients. I knew aeration wasn't an issue because look at all of the perlite in that. There's a lot of perlite. And just to let you know, the soil on all my plants, it's perlite, compost, and worm castings is what I use. Some of the pots had different mixes, so some of them might have a little bit of rock dust and maybe a little bit of vermiculite with it as well. But compost, homemade compost, perlite is the majority of what this is. And that with hydroponic nutrients, everything's doing fine. So like some of the larger ones, like this is a really large one that's in the smallest cup because of the nutrients I'm giving it. It doesn't really need, as long as I keep it watered, you know, I got to pay attention to this one. Sugar Rush Peach. I don't have the date. Crap, I don't have the date on that one. Let me check on that one. This is 10-4. So 10-4 is the oldest plant. So these plants are about 5 weeks, some of them about 5 weeks old. From popping up though, I mean from seed, from planting maybe a little bit longer, maybe another week, maybe 6 weeks, but from coming up out of the soil like the ones you saw outside, some of these are 5 weeks old. Some are a lot younger, like this one, this fish pepper, 931. These fish peppers weren't doing too well at all. I was waiting for the roots to come out of the bottom of some of these, and they never did. I think it's because I didn't have the double cup, but after a while I was like, well, I'm not going to just let them stay like this. So they weren't doing anything. So I started hitting with hydroponic nutrients, and even this one is growing like crazy from before. It was smaller and it wasn't doing anything. So if you have plants and you know aeration's not an issue, you know mold's not an issue, you know like light is not an issue, give it some nutrients. You know, I did do a foliar spray of these too last night, so you see some of the dots. Liquid kelp and then an iron zinc solution, foliar feed. Yeah, that's it. So it is now November and my plants are already this big. I'm going to top them a few times and you'll see that process throughout the videos. I'm going to separate this out to a pepper video. So if you guys are only want to watch this for peppers, there'll be the season of just peppers and then the season for the winter garden. And then the pepper season, you'll see the topping and the feeding and all that, and the planting outside all through summer. So hopefully by March, these things will be little trees, man, by March, because I'm getting a humongous head start on them. Okay? Any questions, comments, man, let me know. Anything I can do different, especially for peppers. Anything that you like, anything you want me to talk about a little bit more, let me know. Otherwise, thank you a lot for watching.